Hello everyone, this is Weston's Otherwise with another video forecast. In today's video, we break down the upcoming severe weather coming to portions of the United States, with a uptick in severe weather being possible over the next couple weeks into early May. Now, we start off with the Day 2 SPC outlook that actually just got updated. As you can tell, they push the slight risk a bit to the north. So we have a extremely large slight risk. This does include states like West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Now, you can also tell that we have a large marginal threat surrounding it. That also has places like West Virginia, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Kentucky, Ohio, lots of places. So we are watching this very closely as this is a populated area. You can tell we do have a 5% tornado risk in play, along with a 2% tornado risk on the outside of that. We are watching for maybe an enhanced risk down here for some damaging winds and maybe some large hail. But damaging winds, you can tell we do have a 15 and a 5%. Along with that hail, which it shifts just a tiny bit for the hail. Now, moving on to our Day 5 SPC outlook, we have a decently sized 15% Day 5 outlook. This does include places like parts of Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri. We are watching for this to get larger, and it definitely could as we get more forecast confidence. Not very many details on that. But we also have a large Day 6 outlook extending from parts of Michigan all the way back into portions of central Texas. Now you can tell this is a very broad but a very elongated 15% risk, and I do expect to see a bit further to the northwest push on this out across this area, a bit more to the southeast around that area, and maybe dropped a bit more towards Mexico around here at some point. So still lots of details that we are looking at. Moving on to the HRRR for tomorrow, we can see that storms this morning will move out, and we are going to start to watch for any storms to pop up tomorrow. Latest HRRR is going to be showing storms that are going to march across that area. We are watching damaging winds, large hail, and an isolated tornado risk. When storms first fire, they are going to be hailers and wind producers, but further down the road, we will be watching a tornado threat before it dies off, as we are not looking at much of a overnight tornado threat until we go more into a disorganized linear mode. And that is how next Friday, that very elongated and broad area, that 15% area is. It's a very disorganized storm mode is what we're looking at. So we are definitely watching, as you can tell. Here are those storms. As you can tell, some of them do actually have a decent track, as we are getting some helicity, some updraft helicity on these storms. Now, HRRR has been really consistent with the southern storm sticking with it, and this one dying out as it gets around this area. So there's definitely a difference in the areas of the environment that are being favored, as you can tell. But a very disorganized setup. We may only see 1 to 2 storms, we may see multiple. So we are watching that very closely. If we go ahead and look at surface-based CAPE, you can tell we are going to have a decent amount of instability tomorrow, but nothing too crazy. If we look at the significant tornado parameter, you can tell there is going to be the chance for a few tornadoes, maybe even a brief strong one in the Ohio Valley, but overall not too crazy of a setup. If we go ahead and head over here to the NAM and head over to reflectivity around that time, you can tell it has more of a cluster of storms If we go ahead and head to convective and surface-based CAPE, there's not that much up here. So we are watching it. If we go ahead and look at the significant tornado parameter, there's really not much in the way. You can tell there's going to be a brief period, but it dies out extremely fast. So we are going to be watching it extremely close. But moving on to the GFS and the European model, starting off with the GFS, we're going to go contiguous United States. That storm system will roll through, and then we are going to get this period where we have a high pressure that is dominating down here in parts of Texas. But as this advances to the eastward into portions of the Dixie Alley, we are going to see our trough dig and eject over the Rocky Mountains as our low pressure is going to dive across this area, and it is going to bring that severe weather threat up here along with this very elongated severe weather threat across this area. So there are a lot of factors going into these future storm systems, as we are going to get very active here in the future. As there is system number 1. Now, it's not too crazy, as you can tell. You can tell we aren't going to see much in the way of storms. It's going to be a very disorganized setup. But as you can tell, we are going to see multiple rounds in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, multiple rounds of severe weather being possible. Even in Dixie Alley is going to get in on the action Tuesday, April 22nd, it's looking like. But then, even more storm systems, as you can tell. There's going to be tons of storm systems that are going to be hammering the southern central plains. And if we go ahead and head over to convective and look at surface-based CAPEs, we're actually going to go to most unstable CAPE, just to see like what worst case scenario could be right now. So if we go ahead and head to Thursday, you can tell not much instability in portions of Nebraska. We are going to see around 1,000 joules per kilogram. If I do take a sounding here, we'll let that load. It did. Marginal severe. So nothing too crazy. But moving on, you can tell we are going to get a decently rich area here along the Kansas and Missouri border. So none possible hazard type is what it has right there. So maybe if we move forward a little bit, take a sounding, let's say right here along that Oklahoma-Kansas border, we are going to see none on hazard type again, but we are going to be in a decently primed environment. As if we take one right along the border of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, we are going to get a tornado possible hazard type, not a very large totograph. D CAPE is 478, 3 CAPE 101, but nothing too out of the ordinary. But moving on, just to get a picture of what could happen, you can tell we are going to be seeing lots of instability start to return in portions of the plains, as even right here, we're getting an area of 3,169. If I take a sounding in it, marginal severe, but if we took it right there, if we back it up and take one before, it's going to be marginal severe. Take it now, I bet you it still is marginal severe. Or it's none, okay. But that just shows you that we're going to have very prime environments over the next couple weeks in portions of the plains. So really anywhere across this area is going to have a threat of severe weather about every week, 2 to 3 times. And we are going to be looking at 1 or 2 setups here in Dixie Alley which hopefully no tornadoes come out of these and no harm is done. Heading on to the European model, though, if we go to precipitation, we are going to see that we are going to get that storm system, and here we go. Next storm system here on Thursday. Not very organized, but it's definitely there. And then, as you can tell, not very organized either for Friday's system, but a very intense system looks to roll through on that Sunday. Along with that Monday, we are watching a extremely large area of potential severe weather all across this area. So we are watching this very closely, as obviously we are not going to get greatest forecasting this far out. But as you can tell, just storm after storm is going to be possible here in portions of Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas into the end of April into May. If we look at most unstable Cape and wind shear, you can tell we are going to get return of instability, rich environment, yet again, as we actually did get a small area right here of 3,000 Cape on that Saturday. But here into Sunday, you can tell it's not going to be super unstable, but man, look at that. That is insane. Almost 5,000 joules per kilogram, 4,910 joules per kilogram along the Red River on Tuesday. Even up into places like Tulsa and to portions of Joplin, we're seeing around 5,000 joules per kilogram of Cape. So these environments are going to be very unstable. So please stay weather aware if you are out there. And here's the week 2 accumulated supercell composite. As you can tell, very rich environment it's looking like all across that area. But also on the week 3, we see yet again a extremely large, all the way from the Nebraska border all the way down to the border of Texas and Mexico. We are going to be seeing a extremely high supercell composite parameter, as we have to take these things seriously. We cannot joke around with these things. Here is a graphic I made. This is going to be for the watch probability tomorrow. Chance of a watch being issued of some sort. Moderate chance. I have a moderate chance of a severe thunderstorm watch. There is a low chance that we get a tornado watch, and the very low threat of a PDS tornado watch and PDS severe thunderstorm watch, we will not get one. 0% chance we get a PDS tornado or severe thunderstorm watch. That is why it's at the lowest level it can be. Moving on to the severe potential for Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. I do have a low and moderate risk on tornado, and as you can tell, I go very low, low, moderate, high, and critical. So we are at a low end 3 out of 5 on a tornado risk, a bit on the higher end of a level 3 out of 5 on the wind risk, a bit on the high end of a level 2 out of 5 on the hail, and a very, very low end flooding threat. Hope you guys all did enjoy today's video. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.